Elkridge with the Payson counterparts. We are very happy to be able to sit down and talk about our communities. It is 5 o'clock on April the 11th. Just look forward to talking about some issues that are important to your city and ours as well. I don't see any reason why we can't, work together and solve some of those issues. So,
yeah.
Do we go ahead and open this just like any council meeting? Okay, I'll go ahead and open this meeting with prayer. Our Father in heaven, as we come before this time, as two cities concerned about their futures and being able to work together to solve those issues that confront us. We're thankful for the positions that we hold in our communities and would ask thee for thy help to help us have wisdom in our decisions that will benefit our communities. We say these things, Father, in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I'm going to call on Brett Christensen to lead us in the pledge.
Please repeat the pledge with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've been mayor for 6 years, and I think this is the second time we've been able to do this. Is it the first time? Maybe first time. Okay. So I'll go ahead. I don't have an agenda in front of me. Robert, do you want to take off from here, or how do you want to work?
Is this supposed to?
Okay.
Well, welcome everybody. Like the mayor said, thank you to Elkridge for being here tonight. Staff, everybody who's kind of made this possible. This is a kind of a joint work session. We thought it would be good to get everybody around the table and have a good opportunity to chat. We are going to keep this to 55 minutes because there are a lot of things that we could talk about that would take us in a lot of different directions, but we want to get a good understanding and some good momentum first. And
that doesn't mean we can't have other meetings too.
That's right. This is the first of several, I'm sure. Just to introduce myself, we have
recording the process.
Actually, we have tags for all of you, but this should work. I actually have this in here already. We just wanted to quickly go around and see who's here. We have your name tag, but your name, you're on the city council or the planning commission, and what's your favorite summer food that you're looking forward to? I'm Robert Mills. I'm the development services director for Payson City. I'm still looking forward to watermelon.
Kurt Beecher, planning commission for Payson. I'll go salmon supper. How's that?
Blair Warner with the planning commission. Probably a barbecued hamburger.
Brian Frisbee is the planning commission. Ice cream, but that's year round. It's not just summer.
Ryan Rowley, city council, fashionably late. Sorry. Dried cherries for sure.
Ann Moss, Payson City Council. I'm looking forward to watermelon as well.
Brett Christensen, Payson City Council. I'm gonna have to go with corn on the cob.
Oh, good. Now you took mine.
Never mind.
It says William, but I go by Bill. Bill Wright, Mayor of Payson, and it is corn on the cob.
Robert Haddock, Elkridge City Mayor. But my wife makes really good potato salads, usually in summer.
I'm Tanya Willis with Elkridge City Council, and I look forward to the snow cone shack at Stokes every year. It's a good one.
Melanie Paxton, City Council with Elkridge, and artichokes.
Charles Wixon, Elkridge City Council, and I'm going with corn on the cob.
Maureen Bushman, Planning Commission, and tree ripe apricots and peaches.
I'm Ron Gailey. I'm on the planning commission, and it's fresh cherries.
Lisa Graham, Planning Commission, Homegrown Strawberries.
Greg Shelton, Planning Commission, and anything barbecue. Awesome. We have a lot of staff here tonight, and we really appreciate all of you being here. You don't have to introduce yourselves or anything. We do have Teresa Hyatt.
You just said my name.
But it sounds better when you say it.
Teresa Hyatt, City Council, and what was the question?
What summer food are you looking forward to?
Watermelon.
Watermelon wins.
Corn on the cob.
Yeah. Well, watermelon wins. We're just really excited to have you all here. Jason, can you take this away? So just to give a little bit of history and why we're doing this, Elkridge City staff and Payson City staff have been approached various times by members of the community, whether they be developers, landowners, all sorts of things, about the possibility of different developments, about the possibility of further expansion of recreational uses in the area south of Gladstone Golf Course, the Forebay area. I haven't come up with a really good name for that encompassing area. I thought about Gladstone South. I didn't know if Tracy would like that. I thought about Canyon Rim. I don't know. But we can work through that. But anyway, that's kind of the area that we're talking about tonight. But in these meetings that we've had with Elkridge staff and Payson City staff, I think we've come to a good place on kind of some shared goals and some shared ideals of what we want to talk about. Not necessarily about what we want to see, but the things that we want to talk about and have further discussion. But we're kind of at the point where we need further direction from all of you and further commitment as far as like a budget and things like that. So those are some really important things that we wanted to talk about tonight. You can see there's a bunch of bullet points up here of why we're kind of doing this. I should have mentioned also that there are several people online, and we're glad that they're joining us. But kind of that last bullet point is probably the one that's most important. We just need additional discussion at this point, and that's really why we're here tonight. This is the area that we're kind of speaking about here tonight. I asked Jonathan from our city staff to kind of give us some visual representation of what we're talking about here tonight. What you see outlined in pink, this is currently within Payson city boundary. What you see outlined in this aqua color and sharing a boundary here, that's currently in Elkridge city boundaries. This area is in annexation plans, either for the city of Payson or for the city of Elkridge. The part that's in pink itself is actually Payson city property that we own ourselves, the golf course, the Forebay area, Kiwanis Park. And really we're having a discussion about everything that's going on here. We know that Elkridge has some property owners up here that are interested in further developing their property, and that's a good discussion topic. Payson City has been approached several times over the years by different property owners, and then we have some really good resources up there that we are interested in. How is that going to carry on into the future? Those activities that will be occurring at the golf course and also occurring at Forebay. So that's kind of just to orient us about what we're talking about tonight. But really what we're going to be talking about kind of ends up in three different categories. And as we've met with staff, as we've met with different members of the Planning Commission, the mayor, it kind of boils down to preservation, recreation, and development. And we don't have a dog in this fight in which one specifically, it's not weighted or anything like that. These are just topics of discussion that we want to really delve into a little bit tonight that will hopefully lead us where we go on next steps. So if you have your phone, you can, I'm hoping this works. If Menti works today, that would be great. This will provide us with some good information. Otherwise, we will do it the archaic way with some pen and paper. But let me switch really quick. Hold on just 1 second, I will get you. Okay, you can also use this QR code. If you can take a photo of that, and it should take you to this survey. Otherwise, you can go to menti.com and put in that code up there at the top, 25634946. Show of hands, who can get on? And staff, by all means, make sure you're on this taking. And if you get on, oh, good. Okay. Now we know who to look out for. Okay, it looks like we have 21 responses so far. It's about anybody not able to get on yet.
That's what I'm trying to do now.
Payson Open should, the public one should allow you to get. Yeah. National Chocolate Chip, I could get behind that. Okay, so if you've ever used Menti before, this is actually kind of some cool technology. The purpose of this word cloud is those of you who respond with the same thing over and over, the words get bigger on the page. Obviously, Christmas is a big favorite for this group of people, which is great. This is just a practice round just to make sure that you're on here. But what we wanted to do tonight for the next little bit is kind of go through each of these topics. And when I bring the topic up, do the same thing. Put in some words, and you can respond as many times as you'd like to. But what we'd really like to do is have a discussion about some of these things of preservation, recreation, and development. So thinking about this general area, what do you feel should be preserved about it? This could be a number of things like forebay or an explanation of that, or hillsides, or the look and feel, the mountain community, anything that you think of this area, and I say, what should be preserved? Type it in. Okay, good responses. And you can type multiple ones if you want, or we can have a few minutes to kind of go through this.
Because once you hit submit.
Oh, well, not.
Yeah, you're done.
Oh,
You get 3 chances.
okay.
You put in 3 or whatever.
Okay. Well, that's user error on my part. Okay. Well, let's maybe have 10 more seconds, a couple more responses, and then let's have a discussion about this. Well, let's go with the obvious one. Who said open space? Mr. Beecher, tell us about open space and why it's important to you.
It helps protect surrounding areas. It gives the ability to do lots of things outside of it. It protects the watershed and everything around it. It allows for other things like trails and access, but it doesn't clutter it up with homes and other things.
Okay, perfect. Who else said open space? Great response. Mr. Thompson. And while you're at it, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Corey Thompson. I'm the lake guy, Elk Ridge City Council. Nice to meet y'all. Open space. For me, part of the reason that we came here to Elk Ridge, this whole area, is because of the beautiful, it's just a beautiful environment. The mountains, the trees, the trails. It would be a true shame if we lost all that.
Okay. Thank you. Great response. Who said Forbay? Anybody? Ron, tell us about Forbay and why you put it up there for preservation.
I put it up there because, first of all, there's water there, and there's so much that can be preserved and helped and benefited as we, take care of that and care for that area. It's also a large area. There's quite a bit there, and I think it's just a gift that could be become a gift for a lot of people. I think it's kind of ugly at the moment, right? But it has so much potential to be a beautiful area that is a place where people can go and enjoy and relax and rest. There's a lot that Forbay could be. There's a lot that it isn't right now, I think. But what it is an amazing potential place.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else put Forbay? Brian.
So I think just Forbay is, because it is owned by the city, that it's something that can be protected, preserved for future generations. It's going to be so hard to keep areas that big and have protected where you can have lots of different types of things like mountain biking, hiking, horseback riding, picnicking, and hopefully we get some water up there and a big pond. So anyway, it's just a great place for generations to come.
Thank you very much. One thing that I just had you guys go ahead and just start typing, but we really never even talked about, I put up here preserve, but what does that mean to you? When I say preserve this area, I'm not talking about putting it in a jar, obviously, this is not jams and jellies, but when I say keep the area, what should we preserve? What does that mean to you? It's really.
Preservation to me means still having wide access and use by the citizens, and to be able to expand the already amazing trail system, that would be preserving it to me as well. But also just facilitating it in a way, like has been said, for future generations to be able to use and enjoy this without fear of it being dramatically changed in a detrimental way by too much building.
Anybody else want to build on that?
Oh, you already said what I was going to say.
Okay.
For most of us who've grown up in this part of the world, we have sort of taken for granted the fact that we can jump in our vehicle and in 15 or 20 minutes, we can be in a remote area enjoying nature and being involved in that. And I sometimes think we don't realize just how rare that is for most of the people in the country. I think we want to make sure we preserve that so that it's a kind of activity that we can always enjoy and not have development or other things get in the way of.
Thank you so much. Yes, Ron.
When I think of preserved, of course, it's the natural state that it's in, and I agree with that. But there are beautiful parks sometimes, but that they've been made even better for citizens to enjoy. You know, I think sometimes you can preserve it, but you can also enhance it, you know, to be even like to reach its potential for the value that we see in it. And so I think sometimes there is that, but I would say that would not be normally a lot of buildings, but you might have restrooms. It might not have, you know what I mean? There might be certain things that are there that are then even better for us.
Yeah, I'd say creature comforts, we're creatures and we need some of those comforts there. And preservation means to me that, we get one chance at this. We cannot lose it.
Great, thank you. I want to know who said everything.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, right? And Ron, you said something that was really interesting that I haven't really considered this too much, but preservation doesn't necessarily mean as it is exactly now, but preservation of that idea of what it can be and the potential of it. Right. Okay. There are some other really good things up here. Anybody else want to make a comment about preservation and why you chose what you did? Maureen.
I just wanted to add the comment that preservation, I think, also requires thoughtful planning and a vision, because things will not remain the same. They will not be preserved if you don't do anything, if you don't think about it and you don't have a goal in mind of what you want it to be, because things just kind of happen. You know, people move in and or a place gets trashed or whatever. And if the vision is not there, what it is you want preserved and what that looks like, it won't be.
Preservation for a purpose.
Yeah, I love that. Great points. Thank you so much. Well, I really like this list, and there we go. This is the next one. We're gonna keep everything about preservation, and the great thing about Menti is I get to have all of these slides and all of this data and things like that. But the next thing I wanted to ask is, how do you use this area? And it doesn't just have to be one specific part of it, but how do you use this area for recreation? And if you're online, you can still take this, you can still participate in this. That's one of the great parts of this. So if you're online, you can join this and just using that code and put those things up there. Yeah, we might delve into that one a little bit. Maybe like 10 more seconds. Anybody still typing?
Staring over what gates?
I think we're gonna call it. Okay. There are some really, really interesting comments up here. And I'm gonna pull out a couple of them. This one, subdivide to make budget. What does that mean? Who had that one?
I love to develop, but I want to see us keep our budgets too, so that's why I stuck it.
Okay, perfect. Let's go to this one, this tongue-in-cheek one. Staring over locked gates. What does that mean?
In Elkridge, our trail access is locked gates.
So your trail access is locked gates. You get to go to a certain point and recreate.
You can just stare over the locked gates.
Or barbed wire fence,
Or
we have
barbed wire
that too.
fence, or railroad ties.
So this is a tongue-in-cheek access question. Response.
Access from our side, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's what our residents come to us over and over and over again.
okay.
It used to be
So-
wide open, it's no longer open.
So you would like to be able to recreate and do those things, but. Okay. I'll poke this bear.
Ask Melanie.
Why is it locked?
So the property. The property, was owned, over 5 years ago by a woman who put it in a trust for a family, and she passed away, and the executor of the trust then shut it all down, locking it all off. And all access was closed to everyone who's always used that trail going up back there.
After decades of public
Yes.
access.
So I've lived in Elkridge 28 years, and in the entire time, I've always had access. So that was really frustrating for everyone who uses it.
Thank you. Hiking is obviously because the more you say it, the bigger it gets, right? Hiking is the one that is clearly what's up there to use right now.
Robert,
Yes.
what's interesting.
At least as far as Fort Bay goes, what's interesting is there's all the biking trails, but there aren't real any hiking trails up there.
Good comment.
I mean, you can, I'm just saying that.
And when it was open in general? When it was open in general, it was kind of difficult if you had the ATVs zipping by and then you're trying to hike. I think that was kind of a tough thing.
I was okay with any of it, to tell you the truth. I was just up in the mountains, here's a horse or motorcycle or whatever came by me. I was just happy to be there, and I thought that they had the right to be there as well.
So access is obviously a really, really important part. Okay, that's really good. Aaron.
You know, the other thing, and I totally understand what you're saying too, one of the problems that we're going to have to wrestle with, whether it be Elkridge or Payson City, because we own some property up there, is working with the people that own the property around it. They have property rights, and we don't want to unnecessarily infringe on those either. But as you say, we've been able to use that over the years as well.
So that's why I think we're here, is to try to work on something together that makes it possible to.
Clearly,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that is a very good reason of why we're participating in this, right? And I think the responses highlight the need for additional planning work, right? Additional direction, right? Because we want to make sure that those property owners have their rights, right? We also want to make sure that that area is utilized in the way that it was intended, right? And that intended part is really, really interesting because some people might have different intentions than other people. And one of the great things about the planning process is lots of times those intentions come out and you can really have a discussion about it and really have a conversation about the best way to meet all of those intentions or to not, depending on what is really desired at the end. Okay. I wanted to throw this one in here just to highlight that when I think of this area, recreation is probably the first thing that comes to mind. So this one gets a little bit more in depth. What, if any, recreation options would you like to see expanded in the area? And if you don't want to see expansion, you can put like, do not do this, or whatever. Or trials, I can give you those. Parks or parking access, trails, camping. Okay, those are some good responses. I'm not necessarily going to ask you about the specific thing that you said up here, but what I would like to know at this point is why you said what you said. Like, right.
For Payson City in particular, our new brand is home to the adventure. And so I think it's prudent that we have something like this in our city boundaries to be able to go recreate and have an adventure, whether that's hiking or biking, picnicking, enjoying nature. And the usage of Fort Bay already is quite high. And Jill, you might remember there's a study done 6 years ago about the usage of the Fort Bay area, and it was higher than some of the other ones, even in Pleasant Grove and some of their biking trails they had, and that was before COVID. And so I think it's so important that we conserve and preserve and expand that trail system to give our citizens and the surrounding cities a place to recreate and do so. And with that, they'll have adequate parking, because we do not want to have cars lined up and down our canyons and on our streets, because that's a hazard.
One thing that I wanted to point out is this, we're obviously talking about more than just Fort Bay, right? Like, are these things that you would like to see universally on property up there, or just specifically targeted to Fort Bay? Anybody want to answer that one?
Well, I thought that was the focus of this, right?
There's a lot of private property up there.
Oh, you're talking about.
We're talking about basically everything up here in that area.
You know, it'd be great if everything. Oh, go ahead.
Because let me just jump in and say, Fort Bay is a Payson City resource. We own that property. We maintain that property, and it has an intended use and things like that. But I think that we need to also elevate just a little bit and say, what are we talking about for the rest of the properties up there?
My thinking went to the area that is in Elk Ridge boundaries, but not developed at this point. And so as I thought of that, trails get you through that area, but that's really all, because we do have private ownership up there. And so I think it's important to work with land developers and have a park of some sort that is for the public up in that area, because it is such a beautiful area, and that would give the public more access and more recreation. And it would be something that we would have to kind of negotiate together. But if we don't have a park or a developed area in that, I mean, Fort Bay is Payson's, and that would be great if Elk Ridge had access to that. But we need also our own parks developed in that area to for recreation so that we are not just depending on landowners to give us access or whatever, or not under, not being in on the idea that I'm gonna have people on my property, so no, I don't want them here, but hey, what about if we work together and develop these acres for the public, and this is a park, and you have a say of where it is and what it's gonna be like and so forth. That's really crucial. I think it's important.
Well, yeah, I wanted to add, it would be interesting to see if over time we could acquire some of the land that's privately owned. So that might be good in the long run.
So acquiring additional public assets, not just access, but assets as well.
And something that would connect all communities. So Salem, Woodland Hills, Elk Ridge, Payson, that every community around has access to get to these areas. And then vice versa, we have access to get to their trail systems. It all needs to be connected in this area for the entire community.
Great comments.
Jill, does the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, where does it go through here? Is it above, below?
Well, I think it depends on if you want to stay at the 200 level, which is Bonneville shoreline, or we've looked at the Highline Canal Trail as being our section or a continuation of the Bonneville shoreline, but it's not a level. 200 level would be higher.
Would put you right through the middle of Fort Wayne, wouldn't it?
No, it'd be right in the middle.
It's lower.
Oh, yeah. It's right through.
It would?
Yeah, our clubhouse is up 200 feet.
Oh, man. No, see, I didn't know, that's why I'm asking, that's a good question. So Highline isn't too far off. Otherwise, I mean,
Yeah, 46.
yeah, well, if you go 500 feet below or 500 feet above, either one would work, but that would be a good way to get trail access.
And Robert?
Yes, go ahead.
Real quick. There's some resources that we can use that, Mountain Land Association of Government, work with them. They have a trail plan. We need to be able to coordinate with them and help us with those access points and also with funding for them, so.
And other sources.
Yeah.
Conservation, like,
Yeah, we gotta be careful with conservation, so we don't want to do the wrong ones, which will limit drastically what we can do, but yeah, conservation sources as well.
Excellent, excellent. We're gonna move on to this next one. I really appreciate these answers in this discussion. And I'll get to why in just a second. So this one is, what, if any, development options would you support in this area? Again, not just thinking about Forebay, but the entire area south of Gladstone, east of the Canyon Road, Payson and Elk Ridge area.
You have to shorthand.
Everyone does a sentence and wrap around the box like 3 times. Right.
This is like limited to 20 characters type thing and then put another response. People still typing a little bit? the accident or an unfortunate event situation. Yeah. They'd get that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, open space is here in the center, very, very important. Again, some other things, a reservoir, that one's really interesting. Parks, parking, limited development, additional recreation, golf course, 2 to 5 acre lots. Like I said, no cabins, some large lot cabin style, so a little bit of back and forth there. Mr. Wixom, we haven't heard from you. Any thoughts to share on this one?
When you're dealing with landowners, each landowner has their own vision of what they want to do with their property. And so maybe finding out what those plans are, what they have in mind, and being able to see which ones might work for our open spaces, parks, trails and things, and which ones are looking for the other alternative, which is development and stuff. They all want to get the highest and best use out of their land and things. So I think, maybe polling some of these landowners up there and getting their thoughts and feelings so that we can say what makes sense then if we've got these people that would, want open space, parks or trails, and mapping that out to see what we could develop in that area along with those that want to, develop for housing.
Okay, great response. Who else have? Ann, we haven't heard from you. We haven't heard from you, so
No.
just share some thoughts about this one.
I think for me, the most important issue is preservation and conservation. Because the second we start allowing developments, residential developments, whatever, is the second we lose that feeling that we love up there. So, my main desire for that area is to keep it as natural as possible. And accessible for outdoor recreation only. Because developers can develop somewhere else, but once developers come in, it's destroyed forever.
Can I ask a clarification? Do you mean just in the 4-Bay area or your whole peak area?
Probably the 4-Bay area.
Okay, just want to make sure how that was.
But we've all seen it where we like the open space and then developers start coming in and then it's gone forever.
Ryan, we haven't heard from you.
I mean, go back to property owners have their rights, their development, stuff like that, but just preserving the mountain feel to it. So you don't want to get massive developments. If we can preserve the mountain feel to it, however we develop it, or private owners develop it, if we can kind of control that, whether it's through zoning or something like that, that'd be my preference. And then obviously what the city owns is just, the preservation for open space, but trying to direct how private development comes in, so. Okay. Lisa, we haven't heard from you.
I agree with Ann. I don't think any of us want to see another Lehigh or Pleasant Grove or, where it's just so dense and you lose all sense of nature. That's what drew us here, was how beautiful it is. And so.
Okay, perfect, great.
So I grew up in Cedar City and St. George, and St. George, we used to be able to go hike down to the river or hike up some mountains, and it's all gone now. It's all developed, and it's it's a devastating thing to look at. I don't want that to happen here. And it's happening kind of on Cedar Mountain as well, with all those homes and stuff. You used to be able to look up on Cedar Mountain and just see the sea. And so I want to preserve that here.
I like to play the devil's advocate regardless of what my personal beliefs are. I do, I really, I know, but when you look at it from a developer standpoint, there's a lot of that inside your blue dotted line that it may be tough to go in there and say, hey, you have to have so much open space, so many trails. If you don't meet this criteria, we're not gonna let you develop it. But by the time you get sewer and water up that high, I mean, you're hundreds of millions of dollars to get this line developed because you gotta get water above it to gravity feed down, you gotta get your sewer down out of it. And so if it's not a big enough chunk, not dense enough, a developer is not going to be able to do it. And if you take that away from the developers, then they end up with land that's 10 cents on the dollar in comparison to what it could be. And so it's definitely a slippery slope. So we're looking, I mean, we can look at it from both sides of it and say, where do we really want to be? And that's why I think we bought 4Bay for a different reason, and it didn't work for what it was. We've been stuck with it and everybody's been unhappy for a long time, but we've kind of tried to turn it around and make it something that the citizens of Payson and Elk Ridge want to use. But to put, bathrooms up there that flush and things like that. I mean, we know we put one bathroom up there, it was fairly expensive, but I mean, it's definitely a slippery slope. And so you've got to look at it and say, where is that? Where can we balance that teeter-totter that still gives us the open space, but gives the developers enough drive to push millions of dollars worth of pipe up that mountain, so.
And along those lines too, we need to use that to our advantage because those are amenities that developers want. And so I think it's going to be a negotiation between developers and the entities that can control Elk Ridge and Payson to make sure that those amenities are preserved to increase the people that would like to come, but not overuse it.
Can I ask you guys a question? We were hoping to maybe get some clarification on tonight. We have a hard time with our access into that area because of the way things are right now for us. And we had a presentation by some of the landowners that they gave the impression that you guys were okay with them perhaps pushing a road out through this area to the canyon from up there. Can you guys give us clarification on that?
Great question. And that goes to my next slide, but
Sorry.
no.
Make sure if we're gonna have time to hit that.
Yep, because I just wanted to highlight the fact that I only asked you 3 questions and we've been here for 45 minutes. So obviously there are a lot of things that still need to be discussed. Access is probably one of the ones that needs to be discussed the most, right? Like, are we willing to have that discussion about access? Are we willing to do that? And are we willing to allow development because development would be contingent upon access, right? Those are additional questions that we haven't even had a chance to discuss. I don't know what Elk Ridge has discussed and things like that, but those are types of questions that we don't have the answer to yet. And we hope through this process that we're embarking on that we further refine some of these things, like what it means to have open space, where it should be, what it means to have cluster development, or if it's going to be allowed or not. There are so many questions that still remain. And so, yes, Maureen, you talk while I go to the next slide.
This may be opening a can of worms, but I think it needs to be addressed. The Gladstone Golf Course is Payson property. Access to the golf course is through Elk Ridge. Are there plans to expand the golf course? Are there plans to approach it from a different direction? Is that part of any of the planning or thinking, or is it still just kind of nebulous out there?
I think there are plans to expand the golf course, but again, access becomes probably the most important part of that. We fully recognize that getting to Gladstone Golf Course is through Elk Ridge Drive, we get that, obviously. We also get that that road goes down the mountain to access other things. So those are the additional things that we would hope to talk about and go for. Up on the screen right now is a slide that just talks about future planning needs. We actually have kind of come to the point in our efforts where we need some help. I have amazing staff. I know that Elk Ridge has amazing planning commission members, and there's a lot of efforts going on to do this, but the reality is we probably need some additional consultant help to help us walk through all of these different questions, all of these different scenarios relating to preservation, recreation, development, and we would anticipate hiring a consultant to help us through this process. And that consultant would help us prepare a plan that would address these types of elements of land uses, talking about preservation, talking about recreation, talking about development, talking about access and transportation. How would the best way to be up there and provide access, and where should it be? Because I don't know right now. I don't know the answer to that question. And also utilities, because like Brett said, this is not going to be an easy, low-hanging fruit type of endeavor in any of those scenarios. It's not going to be easy to preserve. It's not going to be easy to find additional ways to recreate, and it's not going to be easy to define specific development opportunities if there are, or to limit them if that's truly the desire, because of all of those different things. But those are things that we would anticipate at this point that a consultant would help us with. Payson City has tentatively budgeted some money to help with this. We think that Elk Ridge is probably a good partner in this, and we would hope if we want to do this in partnership, that there would be an opportunity for Elk Ridge to also help us with that budget of planning efforts. So we're glad that the council and the mayor is here tonight to consider that, because it's budget season, obviously, and those are important discussions. I know that MAG has some technical assistance grants for governments. There might be a higher likelihood if we're applying for a grant as a joint effort to receive some of that funding, but that's never guaranteed, and the money has already been awarded for the 24-25 budget year. We wouldn't be able to apply for that grant until the next cycle, which is 25-26, but free money is free money. Never turn it down. To somebody's point, maybe Tanya, we've actually, Payson City has already been approached by some of your landowners in Elk Ridge about, hey, could we disconnect from Elk Ridge and come over to Payson? And those are discussions that we're happy to have, but we can't really have good answers for those questions and good direction until we have a plan in place that tells us this is the area that we're going to focus on additional recreation expansion. This is where we feel like the trail should go through different properties. This is the area that might be available for some future development. And those are the questions that still need to be answered through this planning effort. So again, so our response has been to this point, we're happy to have a conversation, but we don't have any direction for you because we don't have a plan. I know that Elk Ridge has done some work up there. You guys have a zone in place that allows for certain requirements in order to get development, things like that, but that has become problematic because of, again, access. So. We're gonna switch gears just 1 second. Mayor, take it away on this question.
Hopefully this is not controversial, but I have long been an advocate for our two communities to come together. I've talked to the previous mayor and the current mayor, Mayor Hatta. I think there's a number of things. Of course, we'd have to study it and make sure that things would be advantageous for both communities. But there's a number of things we in Payson could help with Elkridge. Just real quickly, there is pressure from the state legislature for very dense housing within the cities. We could handle that part of the dense housing. It does not belong up in the Elkridge area. Water issues are another area that could help. Attracting businesses also could help with more rooftops. Talked to Ron about the possibility of doing a survey to see what the feeling is. I've, over the 6 years that I've been here as mayor and even before as a police officer here, I've talked to a lot of people in Elkridge. I have yet, and again, I'm sure there's reasons and for not wanting this to happen, but I've yet to talk to some of your citizens that have said absolutely not. But there may be those. But I just wanted to break the ice on that, and it's another subject for another time. But I think it could benefit both communities.
Well, since we have everybody here, though, is it worth having the continued conversation?
Silence is deafening.
That's okay.
I think it is,
Robert.
because we have some issues. I would be open to the conversation, because I think there are issues that Little Elkridge faces and going forward, which I could see them be bigger and bigger. So from my perspective and from people I've talked to about that, I think there is interest from the community.
Perfect.
I think it's worth the discussion as well. The one thing I don't understand are all of the pros and all of the cons, right? So you hear both sides. And I think to be able to gather the pros and to, really get them together and to likewise gather the cons and to think them through thoughtfully so that if something ever is presented to the citizens, that they can also have the pros and cons logically put before them and not just a biased view. And then they could make an informed decision.
Okay.
So I think one thing's important is if we go down this road is that we survey the citizens, and we've talked to Ron about doing that. So we can survey the citizens from Elkridge and Payson and get their feeling. If everybody's against it, there's no reason to go forward. But if they see some reasons to do it, and we get the pros and cons and put it out there and let people have an informed decision, they'll help us make a decision.
I love Payson City, but I also love Elkridge. I went to Salem Hills High School, and a lot of my classmates live in Elkridge. I spent a lot of time up there, and the views that you guys have up there are spectacular. And like the Mayor Wright said, the future is uncertain of if small bedroom communities can truly survive moving forward without having to bend to the will of the state legislature and ruin it with high density housing. And so I think Payson could offer a sound tax base, business tax. I think we could preserve it and have some real nice estate housing up there. It would also allow us, if we were one city, to further control this area and make it something worth preserving, rather than having to bounce back and forth between two government entities. If it was just us coming together to preserve and protect this entire mountainside, I think we could do it. And I think we could do it in a positive way. And I think the citizens would be receptive to it, but obviously that's still up for the jury. But I think this is a wonderful idea worth exploring.
And when he says, and when I say we, I mean you and us. I don't just mean Payson, I mean us together.
Very good. Mayor, you want to pass it to Mayor Hatta? Any comments?
No, I'd be open, but if we're paying for a study to see if it makes sense for Payson to annex Elkridge, I don't know if the cost should be 50-50. And we'd have to look at, we don't have any debt right now. We're in pretty good shape. We do have some advantages to being smaller. We're not subject yet to the, what's it called? The affordable housing reporting or.
I was gonna say,
Right.
you barely made it.
We got until the next census.
And I'm jealous.
I don't have to deal with it, but it sounds like we have a path and we have some homes. The northern part that kind of qualify and we've done accessory use codes and things that would probably be in okay shape there. But, I think the study should be done, but I'm not gonna try to sell it to the citizens until I know what I'm selling. I need to know what is the advantage. But I'm not fighting it, and I don't really have a vote when it comes down to it. But, appreciate all you guys do for us. The one thing we would love is access to the 4-bay area. I mean, if we can accomplish that, that'd be a huge win. And then I'll pass the mic to Melanie. She has a master
We'll go
plan.
Brett and then Melanie, and we're going to be conscious of the time that it's 6:02.
Just really quickly though, I think as we try to sell this to citizens is we may need to change the form of government that we look at. Right now, we're 5 council per city, may want to go to 7 and not be at large. Those are kind of conversations that need to happen so that we have representation by regions, not necessarily at large. Because I think as Salem or as Elk Ridge would get gobbled up, their fear would be that, well, Payson would take the votes and would keep the control down here and would just nit and pick at you. And I don't want to see that happen. I'd like to see it, divided up by area. And I think we'd have a little bit different representation, but it does complicate things, but it's important too.
Questions?
So back when we were on the plan, I was on the planning commission, we had a discussion in regards to access back there. One of the ideas was going along the golf course as a trail, with the trailhead being on our park that we're currently working on down on Goose Nest Drive. That being the trailhead, we've already talked to the property owner going to the south side of the trail going through there and going up along that way as a option for right now. You know what I mean? Not years and years out, but something that would give us access now.
And that question is not going to be answered tonight. I mean,
let's get their feelings. Though.
I mean, really, but
Possibility.
we can discuss it, but we're at this level and that question is down here. I just want to put that straight up.
My question is to you, because the way I looked at it is we were going to split what we were going to do with the mountain, not per se coming together as Payson and Elk Ridge. I thought we were just asking for help to have a plan for the mountain of what we're going to do, like what he had up there, even though we can't get the money till 2025, but kind of like a general plan, and we're all in the general plan of what we're going to do with the mountain. I thought that's what we were talking about.
Correct. I think that's a really, really important question. It's something that would be answered through the process. I know that the answer would want to come right now. I totally get that. I don't know if we're prepared to answer that. We can have a further discussion.
Where is the park in question?
So we're wondering.
It's right at the south end of the golf course.
Kind of the west end of the golf course, right at the west side. Right.
Right, it's this whole green area right there, right on
That'd be
the,
right.
sorry, north end, sorry, right on.
Go up
the-
Jim Shaw's property and then cross through.
Oh,
You'd be
okay.
crossing the house, so
Basically,
it's a
right.
really good.
Park is.
Yeah.
So it's a long ways out around.
And
So it'd
how
be up
steep,
like that.
how steep is that slope?
Well, there's a road that goes up through there. Who owns that road?
Dan Shaw.
There's an.
I think some of the concerns that would need to be evaluated to actually have a good discussion about it and to arrive at is how does that impact the golf course itself as it currently is? How does what would that mean to have access through there? And I guess that's why I don't think that we're prepared to answer that question tonight.
Yeah.
We can absolutely look at it.
That's great.
Yeah, we absolutely can look at it. I just want to express my appreciation for all of you coming tonight. I know that what we talked about tonight was probably a little bit higher level, but that really brings to light why we need to continue doing this. that there are a lot of questions that we want to get into. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be unpacked and actually talked about and discussed, but we need some good data, and we need some good help to do that. We need some opportunity to formulate and not just have us, but have residents of our communities participate in that process and have the opportunity to talk to landowners, to talk to residents, to talk to folks in recreation and golf and everything else. And really the way to do that is, this is not self-serving, this is a planning process that when you go through the process and create a plan, there's a lot of safety in that. There's a lot of information that we can then come back to. So when we do have people coming to us and saying, hey, can we do this? Then we can easily go back to a plan to say, actually, what you're proposing is directly in line with what we want to do. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, what you want to do is not. Or we've planned for that, but in order to accomplish what you want to do, these are the amenities that we would need in order to mitigate those impacts. And those are the types of things that comes out through the planning process. And so hopefully we can continue this partnership. Hopefully we can have that further discussion and keep us all informed a little bit. But any final thoughts that absolutely have to come out?
Yeah, when's our next meeting?
Yet to be determined, but I think we're in a good.
Next quarter, how soon?
Yes.
Have you guys made contact with a consultant?
We have not yet, because this isn't officially part of our approved budget yet. We probably, once the budget was approved in July, if Elkridge is participating with us, then we would work together to form an RFP that would then go out, or make the decision to say, maybe we should wait until the spring and actually apply for the grants. Or Jill, when are they due? Are they in October? I can't even remember. Yeah. Sometime, I think in the latter part of 2024, yeah.
That you apply, and then we find out if we're eligible, if we are.
It's sooner than you would think, definitely.
There's also outdoor recreation grants too that are coming up.
Right. Yes, yeah.
I think if it's possible, I think it's extremely wise to meet quarterly about this. We need to stay on top of this.
So I think the next step honestly would be, I've put it in my budget. I've put money in my budget for this planning process. I think the next step would be, could you have a discussion on what you would be willing to do, because budgets are actually coming due pretty quickly. And then we meet maybe latter part of June as budgets are being adopted, and just to see what direction we're going. That's kind of what I would shoot for. Yes, Dave.
How much you projecting that study would cost?
I think that a study of this magnitude.
And we clarify the study and what it's studying about.
So if you look down at your papers, I think that we would first need to draw an outline of the area that we want to consider. And that would be based on topography and viability of all of these different things that we've talked about, right? I mean, we're looking at most of that area that you see on that map that's not developed or that isn't specifically defined. And then looking at access, looking at utilities, looking at recreation expansion, those types of things. A study of that magnitude is probably in the $125,000 to $150,000 range, to be honest. I think that, you know, tentatively we have some money approved for that. It's not that much. If we got a grant from MAG, that would help defray that cost significantly, but that's not guaranteed. So yeah, that's kind of where we would go from here. I would say let's reconvene maybe end of June or middle of June. June-ish. Okay. Again, thank you all so much for coming. I know that we went a little bit over. I knew that there were a lot of things to say tonight, but I think we can continue this conversation, and it will be a really, really good opportunity for both of our communities. So, with that, Mayor, I'm done.
Again, my thanks for us coming together. I look forward to other meetings that we can plan for the future. So I'll go ahead and just adjourn this meeting, and again, thank you for being here.